Welcome. In this video, we're going to go through how to get set up with JSON Server and how to start using it to act as a fake API to serve the data that you need for your project. Now, I would direct you first off to the JSON Server page on GitHub. It is the best place to find the instructions for how to install. I also recommend when you're doing this install portion right here that you pay attention and do it as a global install. That way you have access to it everywhere and not just in the project that you're in. This is an incredibly useful tool. I also would recommend the JSON Server page over on helpcodeit.com. You can go into the JavaScript information and we have a JSON server page right here that goes through the commands for how to get it set up and kind of explains how the endpoints work, as well as going over some of the more common commands that you'll need to put in the command line interface. We also have links to the official JSON server documentation over there, so if you want to start at the Help Code It site, that's a good place to get going. Now, once you have it installed, you'll need to gather some data that you're going to use for your server. So I'm going to make this page a bit smaller here and we'll get started over in VS Code. And the very first thing I'm going to do for this is to create just a JSON file for me to put my information in. Now, the most common one you'll see people use is db.json. I think it's completely fine to use that, not an issue. And then from there, the endpoints and the way that these are structured, it's going to be a JSON object similar to this. And we'll start off with the endpoint name that you want. So in our case, I'm going to do flight data. So I'm going to name this flights, and we'll surround it in our quotes here and do a semicolon or do a colon, and then from there it's going to be an array of objects. Now, if you're looking for a place to get data, you can either use GPT to generate fake JSON data for something, or over on Help Code It, we also have this data generator tool that is built into the site. It's completely free to use. You come over here and you tell how many records you want, pick what category you're wanting to pull them from. In our case, we're going to do the flights here. Generate the data, then you can click the little copy icon, make a copy of that data, bring it over, and then all we have to do, since it's already an array format here, is paste right after our colon. So now we're in valid JSON format. We have all these records of data that are pre-generated for us. So we're set from that side. So all we have to do is go over to make a index.js file here, and I'm going to set up a function called getFlights, and I'm going to set this up as an async, and I'm going to let the completions for Copilot kick in here just so that we can kind of speed up what we're doing. Now, I'm not going to worry about the response and all that. We're going to do it more as a fetch, and instead of returning the data, I'm just going to console log out the data here. So we'll do get flights. Actually, we want to put our data in right there. And so now it'll do this call out to localhost 3000. It'll try to get the flights. Then it will convert that to JSON data. And from there, we're going to console it out. So the only thing I need to do after that point is call my get flights here, and that should work once this is up and going. So now I'm going to make this a little bit larger here, and we're going to open in our integrated terminal down here so that we can get JSON server running. So I'll do JSON-server, and then I'm going to do db.json, and I can see here that it is launched. Now, typically it'll launch on localhost 3000. If something happens and you need to specify what port exactly you're wanting to do, you can shut it down. You can do JSON Server db.json and then -- port, and then you define the port number. So in this case, we'll switch it to 3500, hit enter, and it launches on that port. So now we're ready to run our code. I'm going to switch the port over to 3500, and I'm going to go to my run and debug on this. We'll set it up for Node, and I'm getting 4 records here. I can't show them out individually, so maybe we will set up a little loop here that consoles it out. And we'll console each item out. So now we'll run and debug, and now I'm getting the actual passenger items. And then if you want to see this data in its entirety, you can always launch it in the browser and look at it that way. But just like that, that's how we get JSON Server up and running. That's places to find data to use. Now keep in mind, if you define out how you want this data to look to GPT, it can generate these records for you as well.